Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about some NBA player props I like on Prizepicks for today's slate on Friday, October the 27th. We do have a lot of games tonight, guys. I think we got another 11 game slate, or 11 or 12 games, something like that, but it's a big slate on this Friday night. I've been taking a look at the board, and I got 3 player props, guys, that I do like for tonight's slate. We are still waiting on some more fantasy scores to get added, but we did just get a good amount of fantasy scores for a bunch of the games. Found 2 fantasy scores I like, and then I found a points plus assist prop I like for tonight. So, as always, guys, we're going to talk through these 3 plays. We're going to share why I like them. Before we do get started, though, breaking down the plays, if you guys do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, if they do help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to Prizepicks, if you don't have an account on Prizepicks yet, sign up, use that promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code. And also, I do want to give a shout out to Sleeper, because we do have a partnership with Sleeper. And if you sign up for Sleeper as well, download their app either on the App Store or on the Google Play Store. Use that promo code NOAH before you make your first deposit on Sleeper, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100. Now, Sleeper is pretty similar to Prizepicks in the terms that it's a projection game, so you're taking over or under on players' projections. But Sleeper does have a dynamic payout system. So what that means is basically, the payouts do change on props depending on what the odds are for the play to hit, kind of similar to a sports book. But that does allow Sleeper to offer, entries where you can, have really high payouts. Like, there's really not a cap in terms of the payouts. Obviously, on Prizepicks, it's a 6 pick. That's the most that you can make. 25x is the most that you can win on Prizepicks. Well, on Sleeper, you can make up to an 8 pick entry, and you can win up to 100x over there. So you guys definitely need to try out Sleeper. If you don't have an account over on Sleeper, download their app, use that promo code NOAH. You will get your first deposit matched up to $100. And I do give out a lot of Sleeper entries, but I do typically post those on Patreon. Don't know if I'm going to make content specifically for Sleeper on YouTube. I just don't know if there's enough demand for it. But if you guys do want Sleeper entries from me, I give those out on Patreon. As always, you can check out the Patreon linked down below in the description if you are interested. But let's talk about this big Friday night slate, guys. We got a ton of games. I got 3 props I do like for this slate. NBA season hasn't been great to start off. We didn't hit our two plays on Tuesday. Didn't hit our 2 plays on Wednesday, unfortunately. We did, however, hit both the plays we gave out for Thursday Night Football. So NFL at least went well yesterday. Hopefully you guys watched that NFL video, tailed the 2 NFL plays I gave out yesterday. But let's talk about NBA for today, and hopefully we can bounce back, hit all 3 of these plays for Friday. Now, I typically don't play a lot of 3-pick entries on Prizepicks, just because 3-pick entries don't have the best payout. There are sites out there that offer better payouts for 3-pick entries. So I would recommend either, if you're going to play these 3 picks, I would probably run them as 2-pick power plays, or just add a couple plays you like and make it like a 5-pick or a 6-pick. So yeah, that's just kind of something I personally do. But let's talk about the 3 plays I like. And the first one we're going to be looking at is going to be LaMelo Ball's fantasy score at 39.5. And I do like the over here for LaMelo Ball. So there's a couple things I want to talk about for LaMelo Ball. So we saw last slate, his projection, I think it was if I remember correctly, I think his fantasy score projection last slate was 43.5, 44.5. And then we got a report that LaMelo Ball could be limited to 30 minutes on Wednesday, and Prizepicks wound up bumping his projections down. So did a lot of the sports books, and I think his fantasy score last slate was 35.5 or 36.5 after they adjusted for that news. I'm assuming that was a one-time thing for LaMelo Ball, and the fact that they said he could be limited to 30 minutes on Wednesday, that's not something where it's oh yeah, we're going to limit him for the next 2 weeks. That was just kind of a first game of the season. Maybe we don't want to play him 36 minutes right out of the gate. I'm not expecting a minutes restriction for LaMelo Ball here. I'm expecting him to play pretty much full minutes. Will he play 36, 37, 38 minutes? Maybe not, but I think he does get 33, 34 minutes. And even though they said last game that he could be limited to 30 minutes, I think he wanted to play in 31 minutes. So he played more than what the coach said. But I'm expecting a pretty much full go LaMelo Ball here. And last season, LaMelo Ball was a very good point per minute player, averaged 1.27 fantasy points per minute. Typically, on average, when he plays 34, 35 minutes, I would bank on him getting more than 40 fantasy points. This is a guy that we saw his projections a lot last season were always, his fantasy score projections at least, were typically in the low 40s, 42.5, 43.5, 44.5. I think this line of 39.5 is definitely too low for LaMelo, especially in this matchup. This is a really good matchup against Detroit. The Pistons last season were one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They were one of the best matchups for point guards. I don't think much is going to change this season. I think this Pistons team is going to be really bad defensively again this year. I think it's going to be a good matchup for point guards going up against Detroit. And if we're getting a fully healthy LaMelo here, if we're getting 34, 35 minutes from him, I like his chances of getting 40 fantasy points against this Pistons team. We know LaMelo is one of those guys that can go out there and just stuff the stat sheet. He can do everything when he's on the floor. He's also a guy that can get defensive stats. Like LaMelo's kind of been like a sneaky defensive stats guy. He did get 1 steal in their opening night game, and steals and blocks, those are very important on Prizepicks with their fantasy score chart because you do get 3 points for blocks and steals. But in their opening night game, LaMelo, he had 15 points, he had 10 assists, 6 rebounds, had a steal, 3 turnovers, 37 fantasy points for LaMelo in only 31 minutes, and he scored 37 fantasy points last game. One, he didn't play quite as full minutes that he normally does. Also, he shot 4 for 15 last game. He shot the ball terribly. I mean, if LaMelo even had like a mediocre shooting game last game, he would have easily put up over 40 fantasy points. So, yeah, I like this line quite a bit on LaMelo. 39.5 fantasy score. I think this line should be like 42.5, 43.5. I think 39.5 is too low here. So that's the first play I like. And then another fantasy score I like is going to be Jaren Jackson Jr., 36.5 fantasy score. We're going to be taking the over here as well for Triple J. So Triple J, this is a frustrating guy to bet on. He's a frustrating guy to take overs on because he does get in foul trouble a lot, which will limit his minutes at times. Last game, he did have 5 fouls, but I don't think the fouls limited his minutes too much. He still wound up playing 36 minutes last game. But it was a really bad game from Triple J. He only had 8 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He was, however, able to get 5 blocks. And like I just said, steals and blocks are very important for Prizepicks fantasy score because they're worth 3 points each. And there's no one better in the league getting steals and blocks than Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm pretty sure he led the league in steals plus blocks last season by a wide margin. He's a guy that can rack up a ton of stocks, and he's been a very good point per minute player throughout his career, especially without Ja Morant. And obviously we know that Ja Morant is not playing right now. He's suspended. If you take a look at last season, with Ja Morant off the floor, Jaren Jackson Jr. averaged 1.44 fantasy points per minute. He saw the biggest bump in usage. He saw nearly a 5% bump in his usage rate with Ja Morant off the floor. So not only was he averaging more fantasy points per minute, but he was also picking up more usage. So he was taking more shots, stuff like that. And then if you look last season at the games he played without Ja Morant, Triple J played 15 games without Ja Morant, went over this fantasy score line in 11 out of those 15 games. And of the games where he played at least 30 minutes, he went over this line in 7 out of 8 games playing at least 30 minutes. So typically when we're getting 30 plus minutes from Triple J without Ja Morant, I would bank on him getting more than 36.5 fantasy points. I think the way that Triple J goes under this line, either one, he gets in foul trouble, which is, I don't want to say very likely, but it's always possible with Triple J because the dude just can't seem to stay out of foul trouble. But if he stays out of foul trouble here and we get full minutes from him, I would bank on him getting more than 36.5 fantasy points. Last game, he played 36 minutes. I know he didn't have the greatest game last game. He also shot 2 for 9 from the field. He shot 0 for 5 from 3. It was just kind of a poor offensive game from him. But he is someone that can do more than just score. He can rack up those defensive stats, which, again, are super valuable on Prizepicks for fantasy score. This is a line that I think should be like 39.5, 40.5. I think 36.5 is too low. Last slate, I want to say it was like 38.5. I think that's where that line should be. Like, I don't think the line should be 36.5 here. So that's the second play I like, another fantasy score. And then we're going to look at a points plus assist prop for today. We're going to go down to Dennis Schroeder. We're going to talk about Dennis Schroeder, his points plus assist prop. It's at 18.5 on Prizepicks. And this is another over that I like as well. So more than 18.5 points plus assist for Dennis Schroeder. Now, Dennis Schroeder is on a new team. Obviously, he's playing with the Raptors this year. He did start at point guard for the Raptors in their opening night game, and he was pretty productive in that game. If you take a look at Schroeder, in that game, he had 22 points and 7 assists. I'm pretty sure he led the team in scoring, and he led the team in potential assists. Schroeder had 17 potential assists. The next highest guy was Scotty Barnes with 9 potential assists. And then if you take a look at time of possession, so this is something that I like to look at. It's a stat that I like to look at when trying to figure out, guys that I want to take for assist. If I want to take an over on a player for an assist prop, I like to look at time of possession because that basically shows how much the player had the ball in their hands. and Schroeder led the team in time of possession, 6.4 minutes of touch time. The next highest guy in terms of time of possession was Scotty Barnes, 3.7 minutes of touch time. So clearly, Schroeder was dominating the ball handling for the Raptors. He had the ball in his hands a ton. Not only was he dishing out a ton of assists, had 17 potentials, got 7 assists, he was also scoring the ball. He had 22 points. He shot the ball 17 times. And Schroeder has been a productive player when he gets minutes. When he was on the Lakers last season, especially when he was able to play without LeBron, when he was able to have the ball in his hands a lot, we saw Schroeder put up big games last season for the Lakers. I think he's going to have a pretty big role on this Raptors team. Obviously, no Fred VanVleet anymore, so Schroeder is going to be their starting point guard, and he's going to be a guy that can handle a big role, can dominate usage. I don't want to say dominate usage, but he can pick up a lot of usage if he has to. I do expect him to continue to be a guy that averages probably 12, 13, 14 shot attempts per game. I think he's going to average probably double-digit potential assists per game. If we're getting 18.5 points plus assists, I could easily see Schroeder going over this line. I could see him getting a double-double, a points plus assists double-double. You could take that over on Sleeper. I don't know what the payout would be for that, but that is a prop that I do like, is Schroeder to have a double-double. If he gets a double-double, then obviously we're going to hit this prop of 18.5 points plus assists. But on DK Sportsbook right now, the odds are favoring the over on this play. I think around -125, -130. This is a prop that I definitely like. Dennis Schroeder more than 18.5 points plus assists. You could also take his fantasy score. I was looking at that as well. That fantasy score line's at 25.5. He did go over that last game, had 34 fantasy points. The only reason I side with points plus assists instead of fantasy score is because typically Schroeder is not going to be a guy that gets many rebounds. He's not going to get many defensive stats, and he will turn the ball over, so you do lose points for turnovers. I think fantasy scores doesn't favor Schroeder very well versus a guy like Triple J who gets a lot of steals and blocks. I think fantasy score favors him really well. So that's kind of why I prefer points plus assist, but I don't mind that fantasy score line either at 25.5. I think that's a point or two too low. But yeah, guys, these are the 3 props I do like for this Friday night slate. Again, guys, I typically don't play 3-pick entries, so if you want to break these up and run them as 2-pick entries, you can do that, or you could add a couple plays that you like, make a 5-pick or a 6-pick entry. I will be giving out more plays on Prizepicks for today, though. I do share those over on Patreon. Typically, I give out Prizepicks and sleeper plays every day over on Patreon, so if you guys want to check that out, as always, that's linked down below in the description. But I appreciate you guys watching the video, man. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Be sure to go check out Prizepicks as well, guys. If you're not signed up for Prizepicks yet, sign up. Use that promo code NOAH, and you will get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code. But good luck on this Friday night slate, guys. Hopefully we can hit all 3 of these plays, make some money tonight. Appreciate you guys watching the video. As always, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.